to the talk show today and lead from within and find your own voice. Nomsa is not here, so it's just going to be me and Rachel G. I like to introduce myself first of all. I'm Claudia Pruscher. I'm an intuitive energy healer, theta healer, and as well a mindset coach. And my gift is to identify the limiting beliefs in regards to the very seed of it, the origin, of the blocks we might have in us, and then so that we can identify it and turn it around and change it into new empowering beliefs and thoughts, and so that we actually can go out there and create what it is we would love to create in our world. And may I introduce as well Rachel G. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rachel G. I'm a speaker, a teacher, and a self-growth coach. Through my own personal self-transformation journey from self-rejection to self-acceptance, that has really been a richness of learning and healing, and so much so that I felt called and inspired to actually empower other women to also experience living authentically from their heart and to choose a life of love, healing, and compassion, and really to help them activate their innate power within so that they too can manifest an abundance of joyful living. And so I work with like open-minded, creative women, spiritual women who have been through a painful life transition, such as the ending of a relationship, like a divorce, and who are ready to really transform their pain into personal power and to become more confident and connected with themselves and creating a happier, more purposeful life that they love. As you can see, I'm somebody who really loves change, and I have a great gratitude for it, for how actually painful transitions can move our lives in really unexpected and beautiful ways.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your introduction. And today's topic is in regards to differentiating between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And this is actually a very popular topic. It is coming up a lot right now, in social media as well, on YouTube and Instagram. It's something which has been more, people are more interested in this topic and to find out about the minds than several years ago, actually. So what are your thoughts actually as well? I would like to start with you, Rachel, about the conscious and the subconscious mind.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It is. It's really. I mean, the whole thing around mental health, maybe because of what happened with COVID, has really highlighted and brought some attention to the mental health. And I think that that's a really maybe one of the real reasons why we're starting to see more of this on social media now, that it's become this subject of interest, which I'm really pleased about, because I think it's important that we all understand how our mind, our brain, and everything works. So let's get straight into it. Our consciousness. For me, how I like to look at it is that it's made up of 3 levels. We have the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. And the subconscious, unconscious are kind of like the same thing, but only I like to split it, that one is maybe just below the surface and the other one is like the real deep, like right at the bottom. I think many people might already know the iceberg picture, where you see the top, which is the consciousness, and then you have the sea level, and then underneath that is your subconscious and unconscious. So really what we're saying is that each level represents varying degrees of intensity of awareness. And so that first level of consciousness is what we know is known as like the conscious state. It's a conscious awareness. It's that tip of the iceberg that I just said. So it's above the water. So it's very visible. And it's really our rational awareness that is guiding us in our everyday decisions. It's kind of right behind the forehead, somewhere like the frontal cortex, I think is how they mention it. It's a creative, it's what makes the difference between us and the rest of the animals, really. It's when we get a stimulus, we have a choice to be able to change our response at any time, whereas an animal, they get that stimulus and they just tend to repeat the same behavior. And so the conscious mind really consists of what we are aware of at any given point in time. All our thoughts passing through our mind right now, you know, the sensations and perceptions from the outside world. It's the memories that we bring into our awareness, and it's it can be what's in the forefront as well as in the background of our minds at any particular moment. So, for example, you know, somebody who's listening to this, they're consciously aware at this moment of the information that we are sharing. And then maybe there might be some music playing in the background, you know, or there is a conversation that might be taking place in another room outside. And so your conscious mind is aware of all of that going on. It's also where our personal desires, our wishes, and what, you know, we really want to do with our life. That's where that's coming from. So you could look at it as it's the conscious mind is planting the seed, and it's our subconscious mind that then is listening, and then is letting these seeds germinate and grow freely. So that's a bit like the conscious. And then we've got like the second level, which is the subconscious. So I like to think of it a bit more like the shadows of the awareness. It's the stuff which dreams are made of. It's like a warehouse that contains all these remembered experiences and feelings, and that they have left impressions on us, on the mind. So every experience that we've ever had, every thought, every impression, that resides in our subconscious mind, and it influences our patterns and thoughts of our patterns of thoughts and our patterns of behavior, probably far more than most people actually do realize. It holds this information that is, like we say, just below that surface level of awareness. And so it's relatively easy to retrieve this information, which, you know, you could say is a memory. So if someone asked me, hey, what did you have for dinner yesterday? You know, I should be able to recall it. Okay, I'm nearly approaching 50, and sometimes I might have to be like, let me think about that one. But, you know, it's if somebody asks me when is my mum's birthday, I also will be able to retrieve that information, or when I last went on holiday, for example. And so we also have it in respect to our emotions. So, you know, maybe you can recognize that you're feeling a certain jealousy, let's say, towards your sister or your best friend, or I don't know, your daughter, and yet you're not quite sure why. But then when you actually begin to reflect on it, and you will actually start to realize, hey, this feeling is coming from that subconsciousness, like within you, that is, hey, I begrudge actually the fact that they seem to have more opportunities than I do. And so, you know, I feel that they're privy to things that I'm not. So that, again, you can retrieve information quite easily on an emotional level. And then that third level, just to kind of finish that off, for me, the unconscious, that's made up of those thoughts, it's made of the memories, and it's more primitive and it's instinctual. It's those desires that we bury deep within ourselves, and they're really much right at the bottom. And yeah, we can repress really extremely unpleasant memories, as far as to say that we actually hide them away from ourselves. And that's why, you know, they're not so easy to retrieve. They're like being at the basement. You know, they're things that we've socially said they're unacceptable. Our ideas are not, you know, are not welcomed. Our thoughts and our desires that have been shunned or told, no, you can't do that. So they've been traumatic in some shape or form, and so we have painful emotions that can be associated with them. And because we don't want to feel them, we weren't maybe able to deal with it, we push it right down into our unconscious. And it's a way of protecting ourselves in crisis moments. And that's usually happening when we're in childhood. So as we grow older, these protective mechanisms, they don't actually mature with us, which is why we get into trouble. But I'll leave it at that for a moment and then just see, Claudia, what's your thoughts on what I've just shared?
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. It was interesting as well, because I don't know the subconscious and the unconscious. So this was like, thank you to share this. It's just always good to, expand your mind and the horizon as well. Yes, absolutely. So, I totally agree as well that you explained it very well, the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind as well, I say it's the creative mind. It's what we are aware of. And you mentioned as well the picture of the iceberg. And yes, just to mention as well, the conscious mind, the tiny amount is only up to 5, 6, 8%, they say. So let's say 5%, and all the rest, the subconscious and the unconscious under the water, makes up to 95%. So we can already see that the subconscious, the unconscious is running the show here as well. And and the subconscious, the unconscious is in regards to the autopilots, and we have here stored programs as well, very from very early childhood too. So the thing is as well, when we are young, between 0 and up to 7, 8 years, the brain is still developing. So it is in a kind of theta brainwave, and the brain is, how can we say, it's can't tell the difference between thinking and what we are observing. So in this very early stages, the brain, the brain of the child is basically is like hypnosis. It is recording everything we see and we hear, and usually it's the parents or the caregivers, the family, the siblings, the school. So basically everything at this very young age, we just take it all in and we record it, and we take it on as the truth because we don't know any better. And especially as well in regards to the parents or the caregivers, we copy everything, or we take it all in because we would like to fit into the family, we want to be loved, and so on. So this is as well a way for us as little kids to just to get the attention and the love and everything. So but the thing is as well that this 95%, just like as we grow older, it is it is, I mean, obviously there are good things and negative things we pick up at early childhood, and how to ride a bicycle or to how to speak. All these things obviously are good things we brought onto and the programs, but as well we have like not so good traits we picked up from the society and the parents as well outside. And that's the thing, that 5% of our day-to-day activity, the conscious mind is only running, and 95 is basically the subconscious of our day-to-day activity. So you can already see that, it's just 95 of the stuff we're not even aware of is actually dictating the day in regards to the programs and the beliefs, and as well as the traumas and the story, everything what we experienced here in the past. Did you hear this too as well, Rachel?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what you just said. And the thing is that whilst our brain is developing, and we are taking on like a sponge all these different beliefs and ideas and opinions about who we should be and who we shouldn't be, that actually gets kind of like it remains fixed in that time and space. It's as if then it has its own will and its own energy that will continue to want to serve and protect us. And so if it feels that there is this a present in our present day, however old we are now as an adult, it feels that there is a threat that is anything that is reminiscent to those earlier aspects in our childhood, it will feel like, okay, I need to come into action. And it will mean that that's when we tend to react like we did when we were 6. So the problem is that there is this part of us, this subconscious part of us, that feels the need that it has to keep us alive in some way. So it will go into these defenses that are there to prevent us, that actually then prevent us from being able to really work through what in the past had happened, and try to integrate that. It prevents us from doing that if we're unaware of it. So I think your work, my work, is very much helping people to bring what is out of their awareness into their awareness, because then we're shining light on it. So it's really getting this whatever's being held in the subconscious to come up into their conscious mind, so that then they can actually do something with it. Because otherwise we just this unconscious thing that is playing out is actually only, it's like where our self-sabotaging behaviors come from, right? It's what is making us handicapped. And they, if somebody is getting anxiety, that anxiety is what is blocking them from being able to do what they are completely capable of doing now as an adult. But they felt when they were a child maybe they couldn't. So yeah, with inner work we can actually help ourselves to really identify these ways of thinking, these patterns, these what our motivations are that subconsciously we are being driven by. Yeah. So anything else you want to add to that? Or
Yes, exactly what you just said, the self-sabotaging. I did some research and I found out that around 60% of the programs actually we have in store are self-sabotaging and disempowering, and as well like limiting beliefs. Okay, so it's just like as well as a very big number that we are even not aware of, that mostly of the stuff in the subconscious actually is against us. And this is as well why it is good to, just like to wake up and to be aware of it, because yes, you can change it, And just like to give an example how this can work out in regards to the conscious and the subconscious. So on a conscious level, you might say, this was me several years ago. Yes, I'm ready for the new relationship. I want to go out there. I want to date again and to meet my soulmate. Okay, consciously. But subconsciously, I had like programs running from the past and past experience and childhood as well. So I was like, just as well what you said, if you have these programs in regards to what was it, for example, afraid to commit and that relationships steal your freedom and so on. So if you have all this and more programs in the subconscious job, actually, it's to keep you safe. So what you said as well, Rachel, it will do anything to protect you from attracting or bringing in this beautiful romantic soulmate relationship you want, because actually it doesn't know any better. It just wants to keep you safe. So you won't be able to get this relationship or the dream business or whatever it is, the promotion as well, whatever it is, because these two minds are basically in conflict, right?
Yeah. I mean, they do work together, but at the same time, they can be in conflict if they're not aligned. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think for people to understand that, when you fall asleep, it's your conscious mind that is sleeping. But your subconscious mind will never sleep. That's why we're able to, continue that our heart is pumping, and that, that we are breathing and all the rest of it, all our bodily functions continue to happen. All our organs are doing what they need to do. Our cells are growing. That is all done by the subconscious. It's not, if we had to do that consciously, no, we wouldn't. I don't think we'd really be very successful at being even living, right? Because we wouldn't be able to just take and do all of that all the time. So our subconscious can actually multitask in some shape or form, if you look at it like that, because it's doing all these different things all the time, all at once. And so, yeah, it's, I think another good thing for people to understand about the subconscious is that it will always move us away from pain towards pleasure, but it doesn't understand the difference between what's right and what's wrong, or what's negative, what's positive. It's very literal. So, we tend to sometimes do things that are actually negative to our own health, but because we've been doing it for so long and our subconscious believes that, well, that's what's keeping us safe, even though for us our experience is that it's a negative one, that's because it doesn't, it just takes things literally, and it talks to us in pictures, abstract. It doesn't communicate with us in the same way as our conscious mind. So yeah, it's just abstract in the way it thinks, and yeah, it's literal. So I hope that kind of is clear what I'm saying. It's thinking in forms of symbols and metaphors and all visual forms. That's how our dreams work, right? That's how sometimes you wake up and you think, I don't really understand why I dreamt the way I dreamt. It's because it's showing it in those ways. It's not literal.
Mm-hmm.
I think another point is that the conscious mind will think in terms of past and future
Mm-hmm.
rather than in the present, whereas the subconscious mind is eternally present. Everything in the subconscious is now. So there is no such thing as past or future. So I think that's also really important to as a takeaway. For example, when our conscious mind, when we get lost in thinking, I think we've all done that. It's, that subconscious mind is what then automatically takes over and determines our behavior. So, for example, how many times I've done it, that I might be driving in my car and I start to think about what it is, I'm on my way to the supermarket and I'm starting to think about what it is that I need to cook for dinner and what I need to put on my list. Whilst I'm actually there with my thoughts, my subconscious is taking over and actually, is making sure that I'm still driving and I'm getting from A to B. I'm not saying I'm not recommending that everybody goes out and is that they're thinking something else, but we tend to do things like that we're lost in thinking, but yet we're still driving. We're still able to do everything that we've learned on how to drive a car. We're not even thinking about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Carry on.
Absolutely, because it's basically as well the autopilot. Like some good things, like riding the bike, also on swimming. Don't know, like so many things. Once you learn them, later on, 20, 30 years later, because it's still on autopilot, you will still keep the learning. But the same happens as well with the negative programs, just like, because as you said, it just doesn't know it's positive, it's negative, it doesn't have this awareness. And as well, it's something else. Yes, it doesn't understand the past and the future. It's only in the now. So this is why it's important as well. When we, for example, state like affirmations, which is the way as well to bring in as a new habit, as a new repetition, and to say it over and over and over again until actually it can override as well some old programs. But if I say I will be rich, I will be healthy, I will be in a relationship, and then I'm sure with you that a year from now on, I won't have reached all these desires because I was in the future, So I didn't actually state that I am in the relationship, I am in the business, I am in the new house. This is as well an important factor, as you said, just like to keep it in a positive present tense and to firm the affirmation over and over again and to let go of everything I should, I shall, I will. This will always keep you looking and longing for this desired outcome in your life.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, it doesn't think or reason independently. It simply just obeys the commands that it receives from our conscious mind. So, if I'm telling for me, one of my key things has always been that in my subconscious was, I am not good enough. And, it just believes whatever I'm telling it. It acts on that. So, of course, I will look to the external world and find evidence to support that limiting belief that I held for so long. I'm not good enough. So, it literally takes that as, okay, that's the truth. And because I continue to repeat it to myself over the years, our subconscious is habitual. That's how it works. It works on continuing to repeat itself. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't think independently. Only the does that. Yeah.
And this is why as well it's again good to be reminded that we are the creator of our own reality. I know we've heard this over and over again, but actually, did it really sink in and so on? So it's always good to be reminded that we are actually as well part of this creative energy of source, however you would like to call it. And we are as well our own creator. And this is why it's important to understand how these things work so that you can actually look at your life and see which area in your life is just not really actually how you would like it to be. And then if you're honest to yourself and look at your experiences as well, you will already see the programs as well you might have running inside of you, because in the end as well it's going to be repeated to yourself over and over again. It can just be a different relationship, a different experience at work, but in regards to the energy as such, it's going to be repeated over and over again, because you have this program, the belief inside of you.
Yeah. I know for me, like just something silly, like, when I was a child, and I was being chased by a dog, and I had a few different incidences with dogs. But basically, I kind of installed a program of a phobia that was quite general in the sense that all dogs are dangerous. And for a long time, I lived with that, belief that all dogs are dangerous. It didn't matter what size they were, purely because of an experience that I had as a child. And, whatever I made that mean at that time, that became, the seed in my subconscious, that then my subconscious, took on, and it allowed it to grow and said, yeah, every dog that you might experience, you're going to have that physical reaction every time you see one, because now it feels like you're going to be threatened, so we need to keep you safe. And so for a long time, poor dogs, they had a real bad they real got bad. I was not friendly with dogs because I thought that they weren't friendly with me. I'm kind of over that now. It's got better.
Yes, just yeah. So that's the thing as well. We already know what the programs are as well, and coming as well with it, the limiting beliefs. So this is how we can call them too. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Yeah, something else as well you said earlier is in regards to the sleeping state as well. Yeah. So when we just when we fall asleep, we are back into theta, which is the sleep state. And it's very important to understand as well that just before we fall asleep, and as well the moment after we wake up as well in the morning, that we are still in this theta state. And here we are still connected to the subconscious mind. So actually it's very good as well to go back into the things you would like to create in your life. So what it is you really, really want. Because when you are in bed and you think of the problems and all the fears and everything which you don't want to attract in your life, and then you fall asleep and all the stuff, all the fears is lingering in your subconscious mind. So you already get the idea that it's not really productive in regards to when you change it and you are in your bed falling asleep and you think of all the things you would love to create in regards to the feelings, as well as you said earlier, and the pictures too, and then you fall asleep. And this is much more helpful towards the desires and the goals and the dreams for us to achieve.
And I think also, another way to identify what's being held in your subconscious is when we're triggered. So, we can get triggered by our parents, our partners, relationships, our friends, a work colleague. And what I mean by that, when we are triggered, means that we have this immediate emotional response, and we react to the situation, be that with anger or sadness or self-blame or anxiety. So you can kind of compare a trigger to, like clicking on an icon on your computer, and you're going to begin to download something. Well, basically, it's the same idea. You're initiating this reactive program that you've learned from an earlier time in your life. And so, like we've said, these limiting programs that are running this subconscious mind, and they have then this tendency to maybe sabotage not only yourself, but also your relationships, your prosperity, your personal and your own spiritual growth. So yeah, it's triggers are, for me, I see triggers as very differently now, because I know that they're actually there to help me. It's not about the other person. It's about what's going on within me. What is it that I'm holding below my awareness that I'm at, that now is being offered to me to come into my conscious awareness, so that I can actually take action and do something about it. And that's very self-empowering if you are able to turn that around, not stop looking at other people or situations as a means to put blame on, or to basically not do anything with, and turn to an activity that is to distract yourself from whatever it is that is going on within you. It's an ideal opportunity for you to be able to say, hey, I want to bring this up. I want to look at it. I want to pull that weed out. Doesn't belong there anymore, because it was something I planted when I was very young and I didn't know what I was doing. And now I'm much more mature and I'm able to say, okay, I don't like this weed. I want to put this particular flower and nurture that into life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, mentioned here that it's not about them outside, it is always about us. And they are just there to be the mirror, to show us actually as well what we don't see, because, yeah, it's just like we don't see the things actually as well. And this is how it's designed. So they come in and they show us the mirror. And therefore, I totally agree. It is important to understand as well that everything where we feel a bit like resistance, I like to say as well, or triggered or resistance inside of us too. Yes. Yes. Just to be thankful and to look at it and to, just like as well, to go within, and we can do some journaling as well. Yeah. To have a quiet moment, sit down with a cup of tea or whatever it is, and just like ask us as well the questions, why did I feel triggered right now? And when we ask as well the question, we will get the answer, because in the end as well, we always have the information and the truth inside of us. And when we actually make the effort to connect with this part of us and ask the question, and then you can hear the whisper or the sensation, the feeling. It can be just be a knowing, so we are all connected with our intuition. And when we train this to listen and to understand it as well, then we can already as well identify what happened here in regards to why did I feel triggered right now in this situation.
Yeah. So true. It's, many people, they only really see the conscious mind. They're unaware of the benefits to connecting to the subconscious. It's like they believe that the way to accomplish more is to cram more into this conscious mind, learn. When I think actually, when it makes actually things a lot harder, and often it's actually counterproductive, because when we clear our head, such as meditation, which is why meditation is pushed, I think, a lot. And people, it can sometimes, you've got to have this empty head, but it's more the fact that you're just taking a moment to sit and be still. You can still do it with music, but it's just taking that moment just to sort of disconnect from the external world. Because when you can clear your head, because the more you practice it, the easier that will come. It's not that you don't have any thoughts at all. You can, but I don't want to give people the idea that meditation means that you're sort of sat in Zen and there's no thoughts whatsoever. You can reach that place, but that's not necessarily what You don't have to get to that place to have the benefit of meditation. That's what I think I'm trying to say. But when you're sitting there and you're trying and you're just letting go and just watching your thoughts come in and out, that is where you're going to get those so-called light bulb moments, that people talk about, ahas, because and then they can just seem to come out of nowhere, and it's because your subconscious now is at work, and it's coming up and it's giving stuff to you, because you are now conscious in your subconscious almost. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. It does, especially when you actually sit down and you practice it, right? Yeah. And then you have the experience of it. Absolutely. Because in the end as well, yeah, it just, you can connect to it. Absolutely. There is, yeah, just like, yeah. So I wanted to ask you as well, how can we then actually go ahead and change, like some of this programs of the subconscious mind? Obviously, there are so many methods out there as well, so we can't like discuss all of them, and some of them I even don't know about, but they're quite a lot of methods there. And what I have found as well is, for example, hypnosis, like it's one, but we can do as well, to begin with, we can try self-hypnosis, just like to put some headsets on at night when we are asleep, and just like to find a program in regards to what it is we would like to change. Because the thing is as well, when we are asleep, we are in this theta brainwave, and theta is all about programming and hypnosis and changing as well the beliefs. And something else as well I found is repetition and practicing as well, because just like repeating new stuff over and over again, because still after the age of 7 and 8, we are still learning new things. For example, driving the car with 18 or whatever it is later on in life. And we do this by repetition as well, in habit. So these are like two ways I picked, for example, how to change the reprogramming in the subconscious mind. Can you throw anything in,
Well, I
Rachel?
mean, one of the sessions that I do with my clients is that, I will ask them to recall a recent situation where they have had, where they had an outburst of some emotion that had either left them feeling, angry or defeated or, depressed or disrespected, whatever that emotional experience was for them. And then I asked them, just to first of all understand, what was the circumstance, what was it that you were expecting as an outcome, what were you feeling before, after, during, and to really describe what happened, if there was anybody else there and what did they say, etc., and how did they respond to that situation, so that they first just kind of like get an overview of an experience that they've had. And then I will basically say, well, what did that experience, what belief did you make that meant, in your life? What is the meaning that you've given to it? What's the belief that you've now like made about that? And I really get them to like just start reeling off whatever comes up for them, because usually the first ones are always easy, and then when you keep asking, you keep going down, you're getting a little bit more closer to the truth. And then what will happen is that they will come out with a statement, and I can help them sometimes with that, because I will say to them, like, finish off this sentence for me. That event turned the way it did because and then they need to finish that off. So that can really help to uncover what possible limiting belief they hold. And then from there, we'll then go into an exercise where I get them to really sort of connect into their body, to slow down, take some breaths. And then I ask them to just really feel whatever sensations are coming up into their body, and to connect to the one that maybe is calling to them the most. And then from there, I then start asking a series of questions, which will really sort of help to get deeper and to start to, like, it's like a funnel. You start wide, and with the questions, it's narrowing down, so that we can really like pinpoint where that belief, that limiting belief, originated from. And so when you've got that, like I've said previously, is that it's like you're going into the basement, it's dark, and you pull the light switch and everything gets illuminated. And now you're able to see around your basement, and you're able to go and say, okay, well, this thing that I've now just uncovered, I'm going to walk back upstairs again, and now I'm bringing it, to my living room, and now I can sit down and unpack it and actually start work on it. So, what do I want to keep? What do I don't want to keep? What's the new story that I'm going to tell myself that is actually updating the truth of what happened? Because now you have a broader perspective. You can see things from a higher place. Whereas with a child, you're taking everything on face value.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And therefore, actually, as well, obviously, we can do our own research and try to change by ourselves or with social media and so on. But then as well, it's good to connect with someone actually, like a coach, a mentor, and because then this person is going to hold the space, and it's a bit like a secret container where we can as well feel vulnerable and be shown as well how we can change the reality and the new beliefs in everything. And something as well I do with my clients is I apply theta healing, which is an energy healing modality where we can identify the self-limiting beliefs, and we're just very quick, easy, without the drama and everything, and we change them into new empowering beliefs. And feelings are important as well, because sometimes in life, or the mind as well, the body doesn't understand what certain feelings feel like, because we might not have experienced it, or we lost it at some traumatic experiences in the past. But the feeling is important too, to have in our conscious, so we can't just have new beliefs in regards to I love myself, I am confident. We have to understand as well what it feels like to feel confident and to feel beautiful and to love ourselves, so that together with the feeling, with theta healing, we can download as well with the belief, we can as well download new feelings into us. And then it's just like, different reality. Just the audience as well, you can already see when you have identified the belief, the limiting belief, and you change it around into something. For example, I love myself, like so many of us, and I was one of them as well in the past. I was like, not loving myself, but like to have now the experience and the feeling and the sensation of what it actually feels like to love yourself, and then to connect to the version of you were in the past, and to connect with the version as well of you today. It's just like really two different things, and therefore it is so important as well to go out there, ideally as well, and to work on us and to change all the programs, because again, 95% of our day-to-day activity is in the subconscious, and we're not even aware of it. 95.
I think that what you point up about the feeling is really important. I think that one, or not, it's not what I thought. I think it's what I know. In the sense that with my own journey from self-rejection to self-acceptance, self-hate, self-love, in the beginning, all I knew was what it felt like to not love myself. I knew what that felt like. It was strong in me. It was all I knew to a certain extent. And so moving from starting to take action on doing things that we would call self-love and self-care, and doing things that were going to benefit me, that needed a sort of I needed to start, And all I said to myself was, I'm going to do things that make me feel good, or at least feel better than what I'm feeling now. And because I didn't know what self-love was, by just going and doing things that I knew I would feel, because even though I might have rejected myself and not liked myself, I could still have moments where I would enjoy activities or do things that would bring a smile to my face and I would feel good, or interactions with my children that would make me feel good, and I could tap into those emotions. So I did have a sense, but it was never related to myself. It was always related to something external to me. So by taking action where I said, I'm going to do things that make me feel good, and I started doing those things, that actually started the whole, the snowball effect of me learning what it was going to be like to actually love myself, because loving myself was about taking care of how I feel. So for people who, because I know that my clients sometimes will say things like, but I don't know how to love myself. And we've got this big idea of maybe what that should look like. And I would just say, scrap all that. Like, there is no ideal about what self-love looks like. Self-love is personal, and it starts with you actually just changing course of what it is that you've been doing and saying, I'm going to do it a different way. That is the first start of self-love. And as you start taking stuff and actually just keep reminding yourself, what do I want to, what can I do to make me feel better than what I'm feeling yesterday? That will start to teach you what self-love is. Does it, am I making sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's personal, right? And there is no right or wrong here, or no magic pill which works for all of us, So absolutely. That's a very good example. Asking, what can I do today, just so that I feel better. Absolutely. Rachel, what would you advise in regards to our kids, when the kids are like little kids, how should we talk to our children then, understanding that we all are actually influenced by our past and our parents are being influenced by their parents and so on, How could we actually talk to our children today, just like so that they can actually be more empowered
Yeah.
in life, yeah?
I mean, I think understanding that your children are probably going to be one of the biggest mirrors for you, with what's going on with you inside, is really something to take note of, because your children can behave in certain ways that you're interpreting are unacceptable. But the reason you're believing they're unacceptable is because of something that is being triggered within you. And to try to separate what's going on with you with how your child is behaving, that they are actually two very separate things. One is the child is going to teach you something if you allow yourself to be open to that, that your children might be younger than you, but they can be great teachers, and that you're a student in that relationship, as well as you being a teacher to them, of course. And they're the young student. But all too often, I think we take the stance that we're the teacher, they're the student, and what we say as the parent must go. We know better, and we don't. I don't actually think, in the great scheme of things, we know better. Sometimes our children are actually showing us the best way to live, that they are living much more in the present moment, that they are having a response, they are feeling what they're feeling, and they're expressing it. Allow your children to express their emotions. Never make their emotions right or wrong. Just allow their emotion to be, and then sit down with them after they've been able to express that emotion, and just have an open conversation with them as to getting them to work through why they had that reaction, so that they can understand it. I think children are far more self-aware than we possibly give them credit for. I know that had I known what I know now and how I would have raised my children, I would have done it very differently, because I would have gone in much more conscious with how I was parenting my children. Um, I think a lot of bringing up my children, I did the best I could with the knowledge that I knew at the time, but I know that I've done and said things that will have, had an impact on them, that as adults they're going to have to also maybe, uncover and unpack and deal with. So I think it's not is seeing your child as a teacher for you to be a better parent, by just living more in the now and really getting on the same level as your child, and feeling into their emotions and just letting them express themselves freely and not making it right or wrong. Of course, it's different when it's to do with safety. I'm just talking in the general terms because, you know, we can be busy with our lives. We've had a hard day at work. We're feeling stressed. The kids do something and suddenly we take it out. We react to them and take it out on them. So is it the child's reaction was wrong, or is it our reaction to them that maybe needs to be looked at? So I would just say that we need to just look at our responses to children, more so than looking at what is it that the child is doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And therefore, as well, I just realized, yes, we can try to be conscious as a parent, but then again, we are only 5% conscious of the day, and 95 again is as well our program. So in regards to, and then something again plays out and we don't actually see it, the program, but the child is picking it up, so actually, yeah, it is important, just like to change as much as we can of this 95%, because just imagine if you start working and you change as much as you can of this 95%, because then in the end you can just go out there and manifest your dream life, heaven on earth, when you really understood how it's all set up with. And something else, yes, in regards to the kids, talking to the kids, yes, I mean, the kids today as well are our future civilization, and you want them to be empowered and confident and like the new leaders and so on. So
yeah,
I would,
look at your child's mind and say to yourself, as the parent, I want my child's mind to flower like a garden, not look like a full of weeds, based on my, as the parent, my limiting beliefs that I'm planting into them. It's
yes, exactly. It's good to be super aware here, and then as well, just like praise our kids, to tell them that you're fantastic and the best, and you're beautiful and intelligent, and all the stories, because like usually as well, we all have some kind of idea of program of I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'm a mistake. So these are like common limiting beliefs. But what if, we can just turn it around and to just like really praise our kids like all the time, so that they grow up and they have this already as a program inside of them. And then they go out in the world and this is what they create and manifest and attract, because it's their programming.
Yeah, I would say there is a kind of a warning moment there, in the sense that if we are parenting from a wounded part of ourselves and we're kind of aware of it, but we haven't maybe been able to yet change it, but we don't want to install that onto our children. So we then actually go and do the complete opposite. But like with everything, there is a balance in life. And sometimes when we mean well, we will overcompensate, which will then have a detrimental effect on our children also, even though we meant it well. we've gone too much the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So now the child is learning, let's say, that they are entitled to everything, for
Oh,
example,
yes. Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
so we like with
Mm-hmm.
everything in life, it's
Yeah.
about balance. There is a positive and
Mm-hmm.
negative to everything. So even if there's something that you're doing with a positive intention,
Mm-hmm.
depending how
Mm-hmm.
far you go, it can either have a negative or a positive result. So I think just to be aware of that,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes we can overcompensate,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then that's not actually helping our children.
No, absolutely. And this was not my intention, okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Balance, it should be honest as well and sincere, absolutely. Because in the end, I just wanted to show how to get away from, you know, you did it wrong and you are stupid, like all the things
Mm,
we might have been told when we did something wrong in the past, just like, and then obviously it sits with you and you believe it and you grow up, and this is what you attract and create as well with all of those beliefs. But the good thing again is it can be changed, so that's the beauty of it. And the change as well doesn't have to take forever, because
mm,
sometimes some of us think as well they already started some of this changing or self-development or um, you know journey, but they got disencouraged or they gave up as well. So it's just like it doesn't have to be like this as well. It's just like you can always go back, because in the end as well, it's just a belief, this is just the belief as well you have, that it has to take forever. It didn't work out for me. I tried it. It was not good, So these are just beliefs. Yeah. It can be changed.
absolutely. Beliefs are they're just your truths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they are a universal truth.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I always like to ask my clients when they come up with their challenge, and then I ask them, actually, is this the highest truth or your truth? And soon actually they realize it's their story and not what the highest truth would say about them, about how beautiful they are, how intelligent, how equal they are in everything. So yeah, this is absolutely just a good reminder. I don't know, Rachel, any other last tip or suggestion before
Uh,
we wrap it up?
well, I would say that, if you want to better understand and accept yourself,
Mm-hmm.
uncover your concealed motivations that are really governing your maladaptive behaviors, then you need to want and have a will to access those internal forces that are really dictating them. And so if you want to reach your full potential, you must gain entry into what exists below your awareness. And that is, make both the unconscious and the subconscious conscious. And then finally, you get a chance then to make peace with what unknowingly has, been sabotaging you for maybe many, many years. And when our hidden defenses are exposed, we now have that choice. We can either choose to just moderate them, or we can choose to remove them altogether and replace them with something that is going to be much more in service of us and others.
Absolutely. And I would like to remind everyone once more that 5% of ILA or the daily activities is only conscious in the creative mind, and 95 is subconscious, and from those actually up to 60% are disempowering and self-sabotaging. Just like I wanted to bring up these numbers again so that we actually understand how big the numbers are. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you have any comments, questions, please post them as well under the show in the comments. And yes, anyway, you would love to get in contact as well with Rachel G or with me, Claudia, just reach out as well. You find us on social media, or you can as well reach out to Nomsa, who is the host of this beautiful show. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.